if anybody can hear me.
Can hear somebody.
Yeah, my brother in South Carolina is trying to log on. He's on the phone with my granddaughter. She's trying to talk him into getting connected.
Okay, well, you'll have a minute or two, so. Hi, welcome to the February 10th regular meeting of the Cicero Town Board. For those of you who are in the room, please note the exits in the front and side of the room in case the unlikely event that you need them. The folks who are here with us in person, Judy Boyke, Wayne Freeman, Tracy Councilman, and Gretchen Walter. Electronically, we have Mike Bacallo, Jonathan Karp, Nancy White, Steve Procopio, Steve Ortuno, Robert Jermaine, Chris Woznicka, Nicole Walsh, Kate Fiorello, Mike Marizio, Teresa Roth, Robert Abbott, and there's some other folks that we'll introduce later as the agenda is going forward. That being said, the clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Boyke.
Here.
Counselor Cart.
Here.
Counselor White.
Here.
Counselor Bacallo.
Here.
Supervisor Meyer.
Here. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Town Clerk Casey Councilman.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, liberty.
Liberty and justice for all.
I would ask a moment of silence for our troops serving overseas and for all of our dedicated first responders and healthcare professionals continuing to serve on the front lines. Also, I would like to say thank you for all the positive actions by those in our community that have supported one another during these extraordinary times. Thank you.
Thank you. We have three public hearings on the agenda for this evening. We will not be taking action on those items. We'll keep them open. And so that we'll have an opportunity, if any of the residents have any further input, they'll be able to have that opportunity. First item, regular item is number 2, approval of abstracts. Councilor White.
Approval of abstracts. Resolved, the Cicero Town Board approves abstract numbers 4 dated January 27th, 2021, and 5 dated February 3rd, 2021.
Locked into it.
It should be in.
Second, Council Bicallo.
Discussion. Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke.
Yes.
Counselor Cart.
Yes.
Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo.
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, the item is adopted. Thank you. Number 3 is public hearing. Horner Farmstead, consider zone change to R12 on Lake Shore Road, tax map 0870121.2. Again, I have proof of posting on this item. And as again, a reminder, the public hearing will be kept open in case any residents have any further comments. The board was all given a number of emails and comments. Some of those comments seem to be pertaining to planning board items, some for town board items, but they're all included for the minutes and the discussion for this evening. So whereas the applicant requests a zone change from agricultural district agricultural to R12 residential district for the property located at No. Lakeshore Road, vacant parcel on the south side of Lakeshore Road between Eldon Meadow on the west and Wallington Meadows on the east. Now therefore be resolved that the Cicero Town Board sets Wednesday, February 10th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. at 8236 Burton Road for a public hearing to consider a zone change from agricultural to R12 residential for tax map 08701-21.2. So that being said, is the applicant or any folks for the applicant here? I can't tell by the name, so you have to speak up.
Good evening. I'm Hal Romans. I'm here for the applicant. And what we're
Okay.
going to do is Mike Bragman is going to talk for a little bit first. Then we're going to have Mr. Horner talk for a little bit, and then I'll talk. And then we have our traffic engineer, Gordon Stansberry, is here, who will finish up our presentation. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bragman.
Thank you.
The hell, you got it.
Yes, go ahead, right?
They can't see it.
Supervisor Meyer and all members of the board. I'm Mike Bragman. I'm representing the Bragman companies who are the applicant for this project. The project would be known as the Horner Farmstead. I want to thank all of you for providing and authorizing this public hearing. We think it's a very important part of the process. It affords, it brings a forum so that factual information can be provided, and we hope it will help in your decision-making process. As Hal just said, and to be helpful in that regard, we've asked 4 of our team members to be here, and I believe that they can answer most of the questions that you would ask or get the answers in a timely manner. And there will be a brief presentation. If I can, without the risk of repeating here, Bob and Tom Horner are here representing the owners. Bob Horner is the executor of the Horner estate. Tom Horner is a life resident of the Lakeshore Road property. This property has been owned by the Horners for over 100 years. Then Hale will come back and he will be happy to answer any technical questions you might have that are associated with the project. And then Gordon Stansberry from GTS Traffic Consultants will be here. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions in regard to traffic, and that analysis is available. The Horners first purchased this property in 1921. So they're over 100 years on the property. Very few people can say that, I suspect. And as I indicated, the Horner descendants will be here tonight, 2 of them, and they will make a brief presentation. But they've been on the property for over 100 years. I've known the Horners for 56 years when Gladys Horner was the deputy town clerk in Cicero, and I was just elected to the Cicero Town Board. And since that time, I've come to know them well. I respect them. And they have always said to me that they wanted to keep the Horner property within the family. They've always said that that in addition to that, if there was any change in the use of the property, they would want to have something that would honor the life and the achievements of the Horner family, especially those achievements that would be affiliated with the property. So it came as somewhat of a surprise to me a couple of months ago when I received a communication from Bob Horner. And he indicated that the family had met, and as a result of the estate, that there was a requirement now that would change, and no one in the family could be responsible for the entire acreage. And they were concerned that they wanted the family to be honored and their achievements to be noted. And they thought that to work with us would be the best way to do that. Now, the only reason I say that is that some of you know that in every project that we do, there's a signature. The signature is the protection of as much green space as is possible, even at the risk of additional expense. And the second is to preserve the historic integrity of that property and the property around it. Examples that I would use would be the pastures on South Bay Road, Route 31, Champlain at the lake, which would be on Bartell Road in Brewerton, and the crossings, which would be in close proximity to Island Road and Thompson Road. Those of all, as are all of our projects. We have done that with the signature of protecting greenland, protecting wetlands, and preserving the history of the project. He explained to me that, as I said, that the time had come when they could no longer do that. And would we consider buying the property? We spent several conversations, and the more we talked, the more we were both anxious to do something. This would be a project that would afford an opportunity in regard to preserving history and in regard to protecting greenlands, probably more than any other project that we have ever done. We have a plan that would allow not only for the protecting of the history associated with this project, but beyond. That would go all the way back to the Revolutionary War and the military tracks. We would preserve a lot of green space, more than usual. We would do as much as we could to have people come to this project, and if perhaps on a walk around the interior of the project, if they were visiting, so that their children and their children's children would know the history and what this area means to the entire community. So having said that, if I might, Mr. Supervisor, if he's logged in here, I would ask if you would call on Bob Horner.
Mr. Horner?
Yes, good evening. And I apologize for the late sign in. I had some technical glitches, but I finally worked them through, and I'm glad to be here this evening. I would like to take a moment and thank you, the board, for allowing me to speak. And to introduce myself, I am Robert Horner, Bob Horner. I'm the executor of the estate for Carl Matthew Horner, who up until his death was the owner of the property. And I hope to be able to speak to you on behalf of the family. And I know Tom, my brother, is here to speak to you also. And so that you all understand, I also am the heir to 1/3 of this property on Carl's passing, per his will. As the executor, I talked with my brother and my sister, and as the heirs, we really had some serious decisions to make. And as much as we would love to be able to maintain the open land and the history of the property, we have come to the conclusion that because of personal and financial reasons, we are unable to do so, and that's very painful to us. However, we want to be as conscientious as possible to the neighbors, the town, and the community, because after 100 years of ownership, going through the Great Depression, as you can imagine, my grandmother and my grandfather had a very difficult time maintaining ownership as they went through the Depression, but they continued to pursue and farm the land and trade food stamps and do whatever was necessary to keep it within the family. And that's an important legacy that we would very much like to maintain. My grandfather farmed the land and was not able to make an adequate income. So along the frontage of Lakeshore Road, he did, during the winter, build a house and sell it to help support the farm income. And that was his wishes, that he maintained good relationship with the area and with the community. My grandmother was the town clerk, and very proud of that fact. And my father and my uncle were both born in the house right next door to the existing property where my brother lives now. My niece still lives in the house next to him on the same property. So it's not like we are abandoning the area. We are definitely trying to stay committed to the area and do what is not only environmentally, but politically and hopefully as cosmetically appealing as we possibly can. But, and you'll hear me say this 2 or 3 times during my presentation, we are just not unable to maintain the status quo. We need to change ownership, which will mean changing the usage of the land. And as much as we regret this, it's inevitable. We just cannot do anything about it. We take pride in the land. We take pride in the surrounding area. I was not born there, but I moved there when I was 5 years old. And the fields and the farm and the surrounding fields at the time bring back very, very many fond memories. And I must say, I'm a little bit upset that the existing neighbors on both sides, because when I was a child growing up there, those were both vacant farms, vacant land that was being farmed. And obviously these people thought this was a great area to move to and to enjoy home ownership. And now that we are presenting the same opportunity to others, these same people are feeling it's somehow in their right to deny the use of the land. It's unfortunate, but we have to maintain, obviously, the payment of the taxes. We have to maintain other ownership responsibilities. And significantly, we are responsible for the tax and insurance implications. And the insurance is very considerable because the insurance companies understand the situation. Here's a very nice piece of open land that people will use to their recreational advantage. But should someone step foot on the property and become injured, unfortunately, in this day and age, the first thing they'll do is talk to an attorney who will then turn around and sue us. So our liability is astronomical at this point. We have had other options in the past as to what to do with the property. And as a group, and I am only the spokesman of the group, we are convinced that the other opportunities are not as desirable as what the Bregman company, Bregman Group has offered to us. And we, as a group, did not, or as an estate, did not, excuse me, that's my little dog. And he's not too happy as someone walks by. Oliver. So again, in paraphrasing, we are not out to do anything that we feel is detrimental to the community. However, my frustration is that people seem to feel that they bought the adjoining farm on either side of us and felt that this was a forever wild natural area. And I don't understand where that came from, because that was never discussed with my grandmother or my father. And so it's unfortunate they were told that, but we don't feel that it's our responsibility to offer vacant land for them to enjoy while we pay the tax and the insurance on it. So we are respectfully asking that the board consider this application for rezoning, understanding that we as an estate and we as a family feel this is the best use for this land, but the land will not, under any circumstances, maintain its existing open land space. We unfortunately just are not able to financially or personally be able to maintain that. And so we respectfully ask that you give this rezoning application considerable thought.
Thank you. That's for the point of information, Mr. Horner, and for all the residents. This item is before the planning board. To the best of my knowledge, is still under consideration, so they have not taken a position on this application.
Okay.
Mr. Horner, are there other members of the family who would like to speak?
Mr. Supervisor, this is Mike Bragman. Would you respectfully call on Tom Horner?
Sure. I'm sorry, Mike, I couldn't hear you too well. I know you're talking, but
I said,
just call on the next
would you
person, please.
respectfully call the second member of the Horner family, Thomas?
Sure. Okay, thank you. Whoever of the next Horner family, please, you can start speaking.
Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a little computer illiterate, bear with me. My name is Thomas Horner. My brother's a hard act to follow. He said quite a few things. As he said, I live in the house, one of the houses that my grandfather built and my grandmother lived in until the time of her passing. My daughter lives next door to me in the house where I was raised, and my brother and sister. I'd like to make a few comments on or additions to what my brother said about the people thinking that this is forever wild and they treat it just as their own private park. My daughter and I have been out this fall, and while we were out there back by the woods, this is how brazen some of our neighbors are. They're driving their lawn and garden tractor through the hedgerow with the trailer full of yard waste. And instead of being ashamed or turning around, he just smiles and waves at us and continues on into the wood to dump his waste. That's just one example. They're complaining about the hedgerows. Well, I hate to say it, but we have pictures of somebody has approximately 1 to 2 cord of wood cut down from the hedgerow, stacked up, waiting for them to have a campfire. Someone else has a fire ring back in the woods on a pallet path with wood all stacked up. In the fall, my daughter and my next door neighbor have permission to walk the dogs out around the field. They have pictures of a gentleman up in a tree stand hunting without permission with guns, which I believe is too close to houses. Now I'd have to get out the exact measurements, but that would be illegal. My neighbor that walks with her was walking her dog one day, came across a gentleman carrying a pistol and asked him what he was doing. Oh, I'm hunting squirrels. Now, children are playing back in those woods just like I did when I was growing up. Now, I had permission. These people don't have permission to be on the property. There have been snowmobilers have the use of under the power lines, which is a trail, I believe, which is all fine and well. However, they go off of that trail and cut all through the woods, all through the field. People have cut trees down so that they can drive their snowmobiles from their backyard into the field. There have been people with four-wheel drive trucks. They drive out, and cars, horses. They drive out in the field. They've come right up by my house where Sam has just plowed and gotten stuck. I walk out to talk to them. They say, well, this is public land. And then there's private land. They call me all sorts of names. And the police come. They ask if I want to press charges. I say, no, just scare them good. Tell them that what could happen. This is private property and not to do it anymore. The people that live in Eldon Meadows development are complaining about possibly more traffic. Well, if they had looked at their development closer when they built or when they bought their home, they would have noticed that before the first house was built in Eldon Meadows, they put 2 access roads adjoining to the farm property. So this should come as no surprise to the people there. As I said, we have many, many pictures of people dumping. There's ovens, there's yard waste, there's a deck someone torn down, there's pictures of lawnmowers. Someone, now where they found it, I have no idea, barbed wire, a big ball of barbed wire, they just dumped. They think it's their own personal playground. They can do with what they wish. I would just like to ask, how would they feel if people treated their little lot the same way they're treating our farm, cutting down their trees, driving across their lawns, marking it up, digging stuck, dumping all their trash in their yards? They just show no respect for the property. We put up posted signs, they ripped them right down. It's just very, very frustrating that they think that we're trying to improve the land the best that we could. And I feel that they are just upset that they are losing their own personal playground and dump. And if you would like to see the pictures, I would gladly, well, I know the board has the pictures from, I emailed them and my daughter. And if anybody else would like to see them, I will be very happy to forward them to you.
Mr. Supervisor, I would ask if you recall on Hale Romans. Hale Romans and Tim Coyer represent Iannuzzi and Romans are the land surveyor for the project. And this will be a very brief presentation, and then we'll be anxious to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you. Hal, you're next.
Good evening. I don't know if you want me to share our screen so you can see a copy of our plan. That would be easier for you.
However you can make it work, Hal, that's good.
Okay, Tim is sharing our screen. I believe you can see the.
It's a good visual at this end, Hal.
Okay, good. So you can see that this plan shows the 64.5 acres that is known as the what we call the corner farmstead. And you can see that on the north is Lakeshore Road. On the west is Eldon Meadow, which is currently zoned R12. On the south is Joseph's Landing, which is R12. And then the Dasone property, which is Ag. And on the east is Wellington Meadows, which is zoned R10. So what we're asking for is R12, meaning that out of the 122 lots shown on this sketch plan, the smallest lot would be 12,000 square feet, but you can see that there are substantially big lots on the south in the woods and also in the center portion here. And then a lot of these lots are 13 to 14,000 square feet. We show that there are wetlands. We had Delta Engineering flagged wetlands on the property because we noticed on the national maps that there was a wetland cutting through the property here, going from Eldon Meadows through to Wellington Meadows. And there was also wetlands in the north. So that's what these shaded areas are. Our proposed layout impacts less than 1/10 of an acre of the wetland. It really only impacts it here at the road access onto Lakeshore Road and here at the crossing going down into the proposed cul-de-sac. That means that if we get the zone change and we go through subdivision, we would have to do a nationwide permit. And if there was any need for mitigation, then the Army Corps of Engineers would tell us what we would have to do, and we'd have to do it on site. By doing less than 1/10 of an acre of the impact into the wetlands, it typically means that there is usually no required mitigation. As far as sanitary sewer, there's existing sanitary sewer in Eldon Meadows with stub manholes at the end of the stub streets. There's also a sanitary sewer along Lakeshore Road. We've already contacted AQUEP, the County Drainage and Sanitation Department, to see if there's capacity, and the county's opinion is that there is capacity. If we get the zone change, we would obviously have to verify things with the town, and we'd also have to work with the county to ensure that we can serve all of the property that we show. There's existing water on Lakeshore Road and Alden Meadows, and any stormwater mitigation would be done on site. So we picture that there would probably be at least one stormwater management area up, I'll call it in the middle here where I'm waving my little hand. And there would probably be another one or two stormwater management areas back where the wetland bisects the property. Those would be done on site, and if we had to, we would reduce the number of lots to accommodate that. As far as the lots themselves, you can see the main road that comes in off of Lakeshore Road here. I picked the location based upon where the existing farm drive is. And then I curved through the wetlands, and we don't have any houses being built adjacent to the Pasney crossing. We actually maintain a 75-foot buffer from their easement before any houses would start. So in doing this project, obviously this is just a sketch layout to show what could be the max number of lots that we feel that we could get into this project. And if anything, we think that this number would go down slightly as we go through the subdivision process. We would, of course, try to maintain any existing hedgerows and much of the wooded property on the southern portion of the property. We would also make sure that there would be no other impacts to the wetlands than the less than the 10th acre that we show with the two roads. And I know that there's been talk about the snowmobile trail that goes underneath the power line. And from what we can see early on here is we wouldn't have any houses, you know, like we said, at least 75 feet away from that existing easement, which means we'd be still pretty far from the, farther than that from the actual trail. If there's any questions that you would have for me on this, I can answer them now, or if I don't have the answers, I'll get it for the next meeting.
Do any of the board members have any questions of Mr. Romans at the moment on this visual? Okay, Hal, I don't hear any questions. So do you have another visual there?
Actually, what I have is we would like to have Gordon Stansbury talk a bit about the traffic study, because we know that in dealing with the planning board that the questions that seem to come up are the wetlands, which I believe I've addressed the fact that we're only impacting a tenth, less than a tenth of an acre of the wetlands. Drainage, which I explained can be handled on site, and water, which can serve coming in from Elden Meadows and also through the subdivision and connecting out to Lakeshore Road. And the last thing was traffic. I'm going to turn it over to Gordon, let him talk a little bit about the traffic study, give you some background information, and then if you have any questions for him, he can answer.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
So I just wanted to take a couple minutes quickly to walk you through the traffic study that we completed, and then I'd be happy to address any questions that you might have.
Sir, could you, I apologize for interrupting. Could you give your name again, please?
Yes, my name is Gordon Stansbury with GTS Consulting.
Thank you.
I just for everyone's edification, I am a licensed professional engineer as well as a certified professional traffic operations engineer with ITE, the Institute of Transportation Engineers. So we completed a traffic study for this development. We did talk with the county and confirmed the study area scope that they would require, which included the intersections of Lakeshore Road with Whiting Road, the site access, and then the other end at the connections to Route 31. We did collect updated traffic counts for 2 weekdays on January 5th and January 6th, 2021. Obviously, we were well aware that there would be some issues with the volumes with COVID impacts on traffic volume levels as well as time of year. So the first thing we did was compared our traffic volumes to the March 2018 counts that we collected for the study that GTS Consulting completed for the Cicero Apartments at the Lakeshore Marina there. Based on our review of our new traffic counts, we found that we were equal in the eastbound direction, but 36% low in the westbound direction during the morning peak hour, and 26% lower eastbound and 4% lower westbound in the morning or in the PM peak hour. So to be very conservative, we increased all of the traffic volumes by 36% during the morning and by 26% during the evening. So if anything, certain directions got overinflated compared to historical data. Then after that, we took all of the traffic volumes and increased them by another 19.3% to account for seasonal variation. That would convert the January volumes to July volumes based on state adjustment factors. So in all, we adjusted the traffic volumes up anywhere from 40 to 50% to account for historical and seasonal numbers. The traffic study covered all the typical stuff that we do. We reviewed gaps in traffic passing the site, speeds, sight distances for the driveway. Overall, with all of the adjustments, the traffic volumes up at this end of Lakeshore Road are relatively low passing the site, generally in the range of 2 to 250 cars in each direction during the peak hours. The peak hours being the morning and evening peak commuter periods. There were no concerns with sight distances. There were no concerns with gaps in traffic. The next piece that we looked at was accident history to determine if there's any significant accident problems along Lakeshore Road. We did a study for the most current 3 years available from Route 31 to Whiting Road. Over the 3-year time period, there were roughly 78 accidents on the corridor. 46% of those accidents occur at the Lakeshore Road Route 31 intersection, which I'm sure would be no surprise then that is considered a high accident location. The remaining accidents were really scattered over the entire length of Lakeshore Road. For example, real quick, there were 6 accidents at Snowshoe Trail, 4 at Belnor, 4 at Weaver, 3 at Backstretch, 2 at Carmenica, 2 at Torchwood, 2 at Button, 2 at Mudmill, and 3 at Whiting. So you can see there's kind of an occasional accident at each of the intersections, but no significant concentration. Looking at all the accidents, there were 69 accidents that occurred actually along Lakeshore Road. And over the 3-year period, the calculated accident rate would actually be below the statewide average for a similar corridor. Therefore, it would not be considered an overall high accident roadway. In our traffic study, we included conservative traffic projections up to the design year. We included all the traffic volumes associated with the Cicero Apartments development, as well as the build out of the Lions Run development. The traffic trip generation for the development, 122 homes, standard trip generation estimate based on the ITE trip generation manual. It projects that we would be generating about 70 cars exiting in the morning and about 76 entering in the evening for the primary commuter directions. I wanted to touch on a concern I know a lot of people have, is this expectation that housing is going to generate 2 cars per unit. Many people believe that, whether it's apartments or houses. And while there may be 2 or more people living in a house that drive, the actual trip generation rate is much closer to 1 car per unit. And this is true for a number of reasons. People leave for work at different times of the day. Some people may leave at 6:30, some may leave at 7:30. Some people work from home, some people work at night, some people are retired. The overall trip generation rates that we use is, as an industry standard, have been proven time and again and are very accurate for our area and studies that we've done. The last thing I want to touch on was the overall traffic capacity analysis. As I noted, there are no concerns at the site access location. Based on the traffic volumes passing the site, we have good sight lines, good gaps in traffic, no concern with levels of service. This corridor is very unique, and I understand that there's a lot of concerns both from the boards and the public about operations along Lakeshore Road. And the issue is that there are a lot of houses. I would venture to say it's in the thousands. And as you move toward each or past each roadway down toward Route 31, the traffic volumes tend to build. So where we only have a couple hundred cars passing our site, you get down to Route 31 at Lakeshore Road, and there's 500 to 600 cars turning right onto Route 31. So we know in the study and in the analysis that there are some operational delays at the Route 31 intersection. The state DOT is aware of that we have shared our study with them. But it's important to understand that this development, compared to the number of homes that are in the area, is a very small component. 122 homes generating roughly 60 cars leaving, or 67 cars leaving in the morning. Once you distribute it over the roadway, we're projecting about 30 cars that would be approaching Route 31 at the western end of Lakeshore, which is about a 4% increase in traffic over the 670 that are projected there in the background condition. So the actual impact on delay at that intersection from this development is really expected to be minimal, only a couple additional seconds per vehicle, as we're only adding a car per minute at most, really a car every 2 minutes arriving at that end. Otherwise, at this end, there really are no significant concerns. The study has been reviewed by the county DOT, and they concurred with the study. And I guess that's where we're at. And I'm happy to address any questions you might have. And I leave it back to you.
Questions from the board? Okay, hearing none. Mike, do you have any additional presenters here for this evening?
We do not. Thank you.
Thank you very much for allowing us to present it.
Okay, so that being said, I have a number of emails concerning this item. And again, I just want to repeat, we're going to be keeping the public hearing open. The next meeting is the 24th. I have no idea if the planning board is going to have a position on it at that point. Once the planning board does their due diligence on it, then they will make a decision, and then I'm sure they'll relay that information to the board for further consideration. So I will now go through the emails, and again, a number of the emails are pertaining to more than one subject, so please keep that in consideration, and then we'll go through them. I have emails here in favor of and opposed to, so I'm going to just kind of go through them all. And again, all of these items have been given to the clerk, and so they'll be presented and available in the minutes. So the first one is from Robert C. Horner, Executor Estate of Carl Matthew Horner. As the executor of the estate for Carl Matthew Horner, I would like to express the wishes of the family in regards to the zoning application for Lakeshore Road and to share them with all the members of the planning board. And we, the family, need to decide what is best for the vacant land with respect to for our parents and grandparents' desires. We all agree that the best option is to keep it in the family and maintain the status quo. However, after serious discussion, we have concluded that this is not possible due to financial as well as personal reasons. It is inevitable that the land will have new ownership and usage. We have options available to us for consideration. We are offered a long-term lease of the property by two energy companies. They would like to build a 20-acre solar farm each, which would result in about 60 acres fenced in by 8-foot high fences and the installation of solar panels. We feel that this would not be a pleasing visual view for our neighbors. Along with the panels, long rows of crushed stone base material and large metal frames to support the panels would be required, as well as ground installed transformers and transmission equipment. I am not an electrical engineer, so I do not know the entire support equipment requirements. We are also not sure what would happen if one or both of the companies go bankrupt and is not able to remove their equipment. Prior to his death, Carl Horner expressed a desire to donate land to the town of Cicero for a memorial park to his parents, the Gladys and Oscar Horner Memorial Park. The town was very appreciative. However, they felt there currently sufficient recreation areas in the town. They would accept the land and then facilitate a transfer to the school district, as they are looking to establish a central maintenance facility for their buses and other equipment. Again, we felt this is not a good option. The thought of buses being moved to and from a building all during the day and night would create a noise issue, as well as a safety issue for anyone walking around the facility. The sight of acres of yellow school buses is also not very appealing to us. Another concern is for the aroma of diesel exhaust and the early morning idling to ensure that the buses start and are warm for the early morning student pickup during the cold weather months, which could create an issue. We solicit the Bragman Group to see if they had an interest in the property, which is where we are today. As the assistant town clerk for the town of Cicero, my grandmother Gladys came to know Mr. Bragman, who was a public servant. She often said that if anyone was going to develop the farm, it would be he and his family. They had the utmost respect for each other, and she felt that he would maintain the legacy of the Horner family, as well as the overall concern for the town. Since the land is already surrounded by housing developments, it is the most appealing project. The Onondaga County Committee has completed their study and concluded that a development would have minimal impact on the area. The Bragman Group has assured us that they will honor the wetland study that is completed and maintain a natural buffer wherever possible, all while maintaining the Horner farm heritage. I have read some of the letters of concern from the neighbors. As to those who walk or walk their pets in the area, a paved road with streetlights creates a safer and more desirable area than the dusty or muddy, uneven land that currently exists. It also offers safe passage for people who enjoy bicycle riding. In my opinion, a much better situation that currently exists. It is after some deep soul searching that we request that you give serious consideration to the zoning change and approve it. Another housing development fits well with the existing land use. It would blend with the existing usages and have minimal impact to the Lakeshore Road and the town of Cicero, while preserving no hazards to the area that could exist with other proposals. Thank you for your consideration, Robert C. Horner, Executor Estate of Carl Matthew Horner. The next item is from Thomas W. Horner. My name is Thomas Horner. My grandparents bought this farm in the early 1920s. I was born and raised on this farm, and I feel that I need to inform you of a few facts. The first fact that my uncle Carl Horner contacted the town a few years ago about turning the land into a park. The town refused. Secondly, we as a family have been putting up with people using the land as their own personal playgrounds for years, driving motorcycles, snowmobiles, horses, and even caravans of four-wheel drive pickup trucks and cars in the field, which often get stuck. And when I go out to help, they call me all sorts of names. Then I inform them that they are trespassing. We have put up posted signs, however, they are torn down quickly. Another thing is that people are using land as a dump site for everything from yard waste and trees to broken mowers and other metal things. They also put up tree stands in the fall for hunting and hunt with guns, which is not the proper distance from homes without permission. There are also people who put up fences onto our property and also keep mowing many feet into the farm. Those are some pictures of the tree stand we came across this fall and trees cut and stacked without our permission. Next item is from the Horner Castle family, 6404 Lakeshore Road. Dear board members, I'd like to express my perspective on the proposal for zoning change of the Horner Farmstead Lakeshore Road tax map 0870121.2. Due to the cycle of life, generations past are no longer with us. Although it saddens us to let this land be sold, it is not in our best interest to purchase it from the current estate it is in. Over the years, several housing developments have surrounded our family's land. Developers and landowners have encroached on our land, trespassing repeatedly, illegally dumping items and hunting. The only person who has ever had permission outside of our immediate family to use the land was Sam Tassone. An arrangement was made with my great-grandmother, the original landowner. Then an immediate family could no longer farm it themselves to allow Sam to grow crops on it. The general public, for whatever reason, feel that they are entitled to use this land that has been privately owned for over 10 decades. When no trespassing signs are posted, we return to find them ripped down in a short period of time. Numerous people trespass and use it for recreational activities like snowmobiling, four-wheeling, and other off-road vehicles. People continue to cut down trees and clear our land and dump everything from yard waste to appliances and furniture on our land. There's also evidence of people having fires and hunting without permission, which is our greatest concern for everyone's safety. This past fall, while walking the dog one morning around our farm perimeter, we encountered a hunter in a tree stand. This was very nerve-wracking. What if it had been my children or other, I'm sorry, or other children now playing? Our neighbors, while walking the dog for me, reporting another encounter with a man carrying a pistol, claiming to be hunting squirrels. I'm attaching a picture evidence of these matters. All these pictures were taken within the last 6 months, and some even today. These pictures only scratch the surface of what is really there in the spring. Overall, our neighbors have shown disrespect to our private land, and it seems disingenuous to now have the public claiming that they have an interest in the land, and any claim of influence our decision as property owners as to the best use of the land. Land is already surrounded on 3 sides by housing developments, and it is our belief that it is entirely up to us, with the town's approval, that it be sold for future development. Picturing our land as a housing development, although emotionally taxing, is entirely consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. Thank you for hearing everyone's voice on this matter. I hope that this letter serves to bring truth and light to the use and future of the Horner farmstead, as well as put some of the rumors we are hearing to rest. Sincerely, Jessica Horner Kessel, with some photos. Next item is from Martha Horner Gonzalez. I am Martha Horner Gonzalez, the granddaughter of Gladys Horner. I'm writing regarding the sale of the acreage of the Horner Farm on Lakeshore Road in Cicero, New York. Since the surrounding area of the Horner property has been developed, and there have been continual usage by neighboring communities to treat the land as their own. Homeowners have encroached using the land which had not belonged to them to erect storage sheds and dump unwanted materials. They have also used the land to ride motorcycles, ATVs on it. This land has been posted numerous times as private property, but the signs have been destroyed or disregarded. Homeowners have been contacted in the past by lawyers regarding these matters. When Eldon Meadows was developed, roadways, water, and sewer lines were extended to, but not onto the Horner property, indicating that future development would occur. So it would be, as no surprise, these homeowners that the property is to be sold. At this time, I, along with my brothers Robert and Thomas Horner, would like to sell this acreage to Michael Bragman. It is our understanding that his company will construct homes on suitable lots, thereby enhancing the area and thus contributing to the Cicero tax base. I recognize that neighbor area concerns, but I do not understand how they can negatively influence the sale on the property, which they do not own or pay taxes on. Next item. Is from Betty Carlisle, 6301 Muskrat Bay Road. And it's concerning the zone change of the land off Lakeshore Road for development. At this time, I strongly oppose this rezoning in the town of Cicero along the shore for the following reasons. Lack of adequate master plan, which includes goals for quality of life and what would be a town want our area to look like. Do we want wall-to-wall development or an area that includes green spaces that allow better area, better environment, et cetera? Costs of expansion of water runoff and sewer management due to loss of green space and increased pollution of Oneida Lake in nearby creeks and rivers and flooding. Effect of increased density of population from new development, increased school needs, increased infrastructure costs, i.e. roads and sewers, increased police and fire needs, increased lighting costs and light pollution, increased traffic and associated problems, safety and pollution. It is the intent and plan for the town of Cicero that we cover all the wetlands that are so crucial to safe water runoff, or do we want to look forward to flooding on all the lowlands? Do we want more pollution on Oneida Lake and other waterways because there's no natural filtration? What is the vision and plan for the future of the town of Cicero? Development without a master plan clearly states the wishes of the citizens, not the few who stand to reap financial rewards at our expense. Is a plan for another small town which has lost the quality of life and gained increased taxes, traffic, pollution, and sadder schools due to overcrowding. I encourage you to put a moratorium in place for all development of undeveloped land or rezoning until a real master plan for the goal of the town of Cicero that includes costs as described above, pollution, quality of life. New taxes cannot offset poor decision, and while the real costs become apparent. A pell-mell rush by some to say, look what we have done, look at the buildings, look at the new development is false economy and will destroy the very quality of life many who have lived here and moved here to our town of Cicero came for. I oppose this application for zoning agricultural land along Lakeshore Road into another poorly planned development. I encourage you to vote no. Next item is I would like to speak against the recommendation to change the zone of parcel 0870121.2 from agricultural to R12 residential. As an out-of-towner who now resides in the neighboring development, Wallington Meadows, I was marketed to this area for its charm surrounding by farm fields, Oneida Lake, and a wooded backdrop. I fear that the continual trend by the town to approve farmland to be rezoned and subdivided is a stark departure from the town's comprehensive plan. Additionally, I feel the town's infrastructure is not improving at the steadfast rate that additional subdivisions have been approved and developed. With the expansion of the nearby Lions Run and development and the planned expansion of the Lakeshore Yacht Club, the disparity between housing growth and infrastructure improvements seems destined to only grow wider. Additionally, I am concerned for the wildlife that calls the wetlands and wooded areas of this parcel home. I have observed an abundance of wildlife in these fields. As the areas surrounding this parcel have become raised and turned into housing developments, this parcel has become a necessary sanctuary for countless wildlife. With these concerns in mind, I urge the board to motion against the zoning change. Respectfully, Christopher Burnham, 8621 Elzevern Avenue, Cicero. Next item from Margaret Goldwith, 8607 Nazareth Drive. Please prevent a new housing development off Lakeshore Road. The traffic is already so heavy on Lakeshore Road and on Route 31 in Cicero. Next item is from Peter Lazarski, 6230 Muskrat Bay Road. It has been brought to my attention that there is a proposal for new housing development off of Lakeshore Road. It is currently an agricultural district, agricultural zone, and also contains a small wetlands where wildlife reside. The current property owner, Tim Cooley, wants it to be rezoned as residential so that he can build a housing development. Mr. Cooley claims he wants to preserve the green space. However, a housing development is the exact opposite of that. At most, he would preserve a tree line on the edge of the property, but even that isn't a guarantee due to potential drainage issues. Cicero already has too many housing developments with green space rapidly disappearing. Any bit of free green space that is available to be developed ends up getting developed. Does Cicero have any comprehensive plan at all? What is the vision that we as taxpayer citizens have for our community? It is a decision that impacts all Cicero residents, not just those who live in the adjacent communities. Adding this new development would also negatively impact the infrastructure, which isn't capable of supporting such a housing project. The main access point to the development would be on Lakeshore Road. This area already has traffic issues where Lakeshore feeds into Route 31, then 31 into 81. How many times have you sat in traffic in this area? How much longer are you willing to sit in traffic? More traffic means more pollution. Certainly not what comes to mind when one thinks of preserving green space, as Mr. Cooley claims he is doing. There's already been a steady decrease in local wildlife in just the last few years. As stated above, part of the agricultural land in question contains wetlands, which are home to wildlife. Their habitats are being destroyed in the name of another development. Another related issue to a new development will be overcrowding in the school district. This development would add an even greater strain to teachers and educational resources. I urge you to consider these points and vote in opposition to the rezoning. Next item is from Tiffany Baston, no address listed. I strongly oppose the new development proposed in Cicero. It is too overcrowded as it is and removes green space and wildlife homes. Next item is from Harold Brian, no address given. The members of the town board, the proposed zoning change should not be made. There are multiple reasons to leave this parcel agricultural, green space, wildlife habitat, multiple wetland areas, and it is currently multi-use, being used as farmland during the summer and for RVs hiking the rest of the year. But probably the most significant issue proposed by this site is drainage. Primary concerns include an effective drainage solution from this site will not only need to be coordinated with the existing developments adjacent to the parcel, but also the several hundred properties downstream from this parcel that will be impacted by the more frequent and higher volume of discharges that will inevitably result from non-agricultural use of this parcel. Downstream properties to the south of Lakeshore Road, that would be impacted would include homes on Jane Lane, Tender Trail, Catspaw Terrace, Preview Circle, Wooderton Path, Yulewood Circle, as well as all the homes on Hardwood Lane not adjacent to the parcel. On the north side, even more properties were included from the two existing drainage areas that exist under Lakeshore Road. These properties extend all the way Oneida Lake, impacting lakeshore properties that historically flood in the spring, but would now face increased water levels throughout the year. The inevitable increased runoff from this parcel, paved areas, roofs, and other non-porous areas will drain faster. Open retention basins, while mitigating the speed of runoffs, do not decrease the overall volume over time. And these basins are fantastic if you are a mosquito looking for a place to set up a home. Solutions to these and other potential problems will fall to the town to solve, and the solutions will require significant expenditures. Simply leave the parcel agricultural. Thank you for your time and consideration. Harold Brian, no address. Next item. Good morning, Misha. Hope you're doing well. The snow refuses to give us a break. Well, you know, I would have to put in my 2 cents rant regarding the Horner property and the proposed road to Lakeshore. Just a couple of reminders on the wetlands through the power lines from Elzern to Lakeshore Road. Number one, proposed Lakeshore Road entry exit, being that it is wetlands, swamp, they will have to fill in, which means no matter what they do for a base there, will never hold up. The area is in a gully where we have fog. It's right there. I'm concerned about the construction trucks entering and exiting on Lakeshore at the power lines and all the construction equipment, noise, dust, again. It's also a deer crossing. That's how they get from the swamp, from Mud Mill to Woods through South Bay. Many accidents from car versus deer. It's also designated snowmobile. Snow Owls Club maintain it throughout the power lines. It would be a shame to eliminate a recreational path for taxpayers to spend money in our town, especially the Boreals. I think the town is going to lose a huge chance for revenue with the lake being our moneymaker. Ask Parks and Recs at the next amount of fishermen parking in their lots. My 2 cents adding another housing tract. Thank you, Mr. Horner and Bagmans. We need another 240 plus cars in our area, like a hole in the head. I would like to see a vehicle study starting at 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. while half of the residents retired last year on Shellman Drive. 75% of those households were our bus drivers and teachers. They leave their houses early a.m. for high school that starts at 7:20 a.m. or other districts. I always laugh at these hours these studies are done because even though I wasn't employed by the school district, I started my job at 7 in Highway 6 in the summer months, nevertheless. I will still fight the marina if it comes back, but figure the approximate 500 cars with that, another 250-ish is at the Horners. Yeesh, I feel like I'm being pushed out of our neighborhood. We were there first before the Mara, Waterview, and the 20-year build-out housing tract, Wellington. Most importantly, a moratorium should be put in place until the town has an updated comprehensive plan. I have a copy of the old one, and it pretty much can be discarded, as no direction has been put this town into a traffic nightmare. If this development goes through, and even the marina, you're going to have you have to figure one half will go South Bay, County Cold Mix, from Whiting Road, County Cold Mix, overlaid oil and stone. The other half of Lakeshore Road, County Cold Mix, overlaid oil stone. The intersection at Whiting and South Bay is a sight distance challenge. I cross it every day now. County needs to address that. Shave off the hill on the corner property or mill out the road to level. Looking south from Whiting east. Remove tree and brush along the sign looking north from Whiting west. I would never recommend a four-way stop there. And I haven't even mentioned the intersection of Torchwood, Thompson, 31, where a roundabout would be a complete failure. School will be back to normal in the near future, and the traffic along 31 is a nightmare AM, PM, not to mention the four corners at 11, 31, and 81 on and off ramps. White Pines Business Park will be awesome at the 31 location, sarcasm. And 41 at Circle Drive is the state taken back regarding the traffic from Chick-fil-A? What traffic study was done? Same with apartments behind Wegmans. Whatever happened to the sewer not being able to handle anymore? $6,385,385.40 goes to county sewers each year, just from 13,855 Cicero parcels. I'm not telling you anything you haven't already thought of or considered, I'm sure, but I'm wondering why Cicero boards can't say no to track building after listening to residents, taxpayers concerning, and Clay has no problem listening to the residents, taxpayers. Proposed gas station car wash at 31 at Lawton, proposed track at Morgan Road near 31. That was not approved by their boards. I saw the future apartment plans around Sun Chevy. I'm suffocating. What a mess the planning for Cicero is. Clay got it right the first time. Hey, thanks for letting me give my opinions on the matter. Say hi to my other Don. The two of you seem to be the only ones listening who questions things. Keep it up. Talk soon. Terry Walsh, Assistant Town Cicero Highway Department. Next item, Corinne, port sign, no address given. I'm writing in regards to your consideration of the Horner Farmstead rezoning. We live on Cobalt Drive west of Horner Farmstead and have several concerns regarding the potential developments of this land and how it may impact the environment and the well-being of the current residents in this area. While we knew there was a possibility of development when we purchased the property, we were not aware that the Horner Farmstead property well until we first saw it. Our home backs up to wetland resources, the undeveloped forest. And we have seen the importance of their function in providing for wildlife. As lovers of nature, we welcome seeing animals, including deer, coyotes, bats, and various bird species, and fear this development will displace them. They agriculturally developed land, forest, wetlands, and stream provide these animals with resources they need to survive in an area that is deeply fragmented. Development of the property would further increase habitat fragmentation in the area. We're also concerned development of the property with a significant increase in impervious surface will overwhelm stormwater management features proposed and currently in place. As a result, stormwater will overflow to adjacent wetlands resources, which may not have the capacity to provide adequate flood storage. Furthermore, erosion and sedimentation due to soil disturbance from construction and tree removal is a significant concern. If erosion and sedimentation controls are not properly utilized, there's a risk of sediment clogging stormwater features and filling wetlands, further reducing flood storage capacity. One of our primary non-environmental concerns includes the effect of the development on the already poor water pressure ourselves and our neighbors experience. This is especially evident during the summer months with watering lawns, and the Williams Farms is watering crops. However, even in the winter, it is not as it should be. We've contacted the town, Onondaga County Water Authority and Ryan Homes concerning this issue. Aqua did not find any issues during their testing, but the issue persists. Our community banded together to tackle this significant issue, but we've been dismissed and told it is a non-issue. Please seriously consider the impact the new development would have on this significant issue. We are seriously concerned about the increase in traffic, especially on already congested Route 31. Specifically, while the intersection of Route 31 and South Bay Road may not appear congested, turning left towards Whiting Road can be incredulously dangerous. In my experience, cars will pull around others waiting to turn left and we've been almost hit many times. Turn lanes and a possible traffic signal should be considered if development of the property is approved. Furthermore, we've been told studies completed by the DOT show that traffic will not be impacted by the new development. However, the proposed 120 lots would bring an additional 240 cars to the area, 2 per household. We would like more detailed information on DOT study. In addition, if the studies were conducted within this past year, we question their accuracy due to the pandemic as less people are on the roads. Lastly, we have school-age children and are concerned that our large and growing school district will feel even more pressure. Although our teachers are fabulous, we believe that the stress large classes put on them also puts a strain on the system. Should the planning board choose to move forward with the approved rezoning of the property, we would like to understand several aspects regarding how the applicant plans to mitigate the removal of habitat and wetland resources impacts. Our specific questions for the planning board's consideration include: what is the proposed mitigation plan for the wetland impacts? Similar, is the proposed mitigation for any proposed tree removal? Will trees be cut at the base with root stock left intact to minimize soil erosion and sedimentation risk? Can abutters be provided the applicant's stormwater management plan to understand how stormwater will be managed? Has the applicant considered bioretention areas, rain gardens, and construction stormwater wetlands in their design? At a minimum, would the planning board consider rezoning only a portion of the property to reduce the number of housing lots proposed to decrease pressure on current residents of the area, retain valuable habitat, and avoid minimizing impacts to wetland resources, areas, and undeveloped forest? To that end, we understand that the applicant has promised to keep green spaces to the extent possible, but we'd like assurance from the planning board that green spaces will be retained in perpetuity. Thank you for your time and consideration. Again, Corinne, Port Sign, no address given. One from Robin Williams, no address. No more housing developments in Cicero. Our schools are overtaxed already. The amount of kids in high school is ridiculous. I am opposed to any new developments, new home developments. Next one is from Janice Lazarski, 6230 Muskrat Bay Road. I am a property owner at 6230 Muskrat Bay Road and I'm very much opposed to the zoning change for the parcel of land off of Lakeshore Road, which is currently in agricultural zone. Importantly, this land also contains a small amount of wetlands where wildlife reside and is important to me to preserve. Tim Coley, the property owner, wants it to be rezoned as residential so he can put up another housing development, but preserving land and wildlife is important. In this era of warming temperatures and during this terrible pandemic, it has become more and more apparent that we have not taken care of our environment and the impact of this neglect. The cleaning of waterlands and air quality during this pandemic has been a brutal way to learn that we need to take better care of our environment. Next one is Matthew Michaelenko, 8641 Ezra. I'm writing to you on behalf of myself and my surrounding neighbors. My neighbors think it is a waste of time to voice our opposition to the proposed new housing development. They believe it is a done deal. I hope they are wrong. Having worked my entire career in county government, I saw many changes to the county budget that occurred after the public hearing. Having said that, we are opposed to the new development off Lake Shore Road and next to Eldon Manor and Wellington Manor. The traffic on Lake Shore is unbearable at certain times of the day. You cannot get onto Route 31 off of Lake Shore. Whiting Road used to be a cut-through road, but not anymore. Speed limits on these roads are now ignored. This will only get worse. A new section of homes are being built off of Elzer Avenue. There is only one way in or out. Traffic now in this area is terrible. For each house built, 2 to 4 cars are added. Please weigh all options before adopting this proposal. Thank you for your consideration. Diane Hart, no address given. I think it's a bad idea to add more homes without addressing the traffic problem first. The next item, Donna Warner Flag, no address given. I oppose the zone change off of Lake Shore Road. Next one, Caitlin Albright, no address. I am writing to oppose the rezoning of Lake Shore Road Agricultural District to a residential district. I live a block away from the property in question, and I've seen a huge increase in development, not just in my area, but in Cicero in general. We moved to Cicero because we wanted more open space, and were initially attracted to our home due to the wooded, underdeveloped land directly behind it. We were told that the land would remain undeveloped. However, less than a year later, the trees were being torn down, and now there is a brand new development behind us. I used to see and hear a number of wildlife when I first moved here. There were deer, foxes, coyotes, great horned owls, turkeys, eastern goldfinches, turtles, and plenty of others. I rarely, if ever, see any of these animals anymore, which is not only disappointing, but also incredibly sad to know our town is looking to destroy more of their natural habitat. The agricultural zone in question has also come to home to dwindling wetlands where some of these animals reside. We do not need another development in Cicero. We need more natural space and to preserve what's left of space we do have. If you do not care about wildlife, then I hope you would at least consider the realities of another development from an infrastructure perspective. We simply do not have the infrastructure to support this rapidly growing population. Additionally, the schools are already overcrowded, and placing another demand on the staff's resources is not the answer. I know many of my neighbors share the same sentiments and concerns. Simply put, we do not want another development, nor do we want that to be in the best interest of the town and the town's resources. Instead of expanding, focus your energy and efforts on making life better for the current residents of this town and taking better care of the natural environment so it can be preserved for future generations. I hope you will seriously consider the zoning change proposal and all of its implications. Next one is Caitlin Albright, no address. I am writing to you to oppose the rezoning of the agricultural lot off of Lakeshore Road to a residential lot. I live nearby and know the traffic patterns of the area very well. Adding another development would be a burden to the infrastructure and has a strong potential to create drainage issues. I watched the last zoning and planning committee meeting where this was discussed and was disappointed by what I was hearing. The traffic study itself is questionable since it is conducted by the developer, which is inherently biased. It was noted that the study was conducted during the pandemic and was adjusted to account for people working from home during this time. I highly doubt this was done with accuracy, nor does it take into account the increase in traffic from other development proposals that are constantly popping up, such as the 400 near homes and apartments near 81. Each time another development is proposed, the town says that the traffic study indicates only a minor increase. All of those minor increases will add up quickly and create a much larger increase. Let's not dismiss the fact that the traffic is already a problem even without these minor increases. Furthermore, the residents of Cicero flat out do not want more developments. People choose to move to Cicero because they want to enjoy more open space, less traffic, and less congestion. Every little bit of green space is being taken over, forcing wildlife out of their homes. The agricultural land in question is also home to a small amount of wetlands. While they are small, they are not insignificant. The residents of Cicero want to see these preserved rather than destroyed. I would also like to point out that Mr. Bregman, the property owner, initially claimed he wanted to preserve green space. How exactly does he plan to do that? By turning it into a housing development. He went on to say that he would like to preserve the tree line at the border of the property, which isn't even a guarantee due to drainage issues. He doesn't care about the green space at all. Let's not pretend otherwise. Also, keep in mind the stress this will put on our ever-growing school system. Our teachers and educational resources have been put through the test over and over again this year and are still being drained. Another housing development will only add to this. Other considerations that this would cut right through the existing snowmobile trail. How exactly will the trail be rerouted? The other services such as garbage and recycling pickup will undoubtedly be impacted as well. Many residents have noticed that the garbage pickup has gotten increasingly slow and inconsistent. The problem with this is that the longer trash sits outside, the more it'll end up blowing around the neighborhood. I have definitely seen an increase in litter, not just in my neighborhood, but surrounding areas. More houses will further contribute to this. Cicero is no longer such a desirable place to live. The town board needs to spend less time considering development proposals and more time focusing on creating a comprehensive plan will actually represent the wishes of the community and address the current issues. Caitlin Albright, no address. Next one is Sue Kumiletti. To the board, I have been living in town Cicero for 26 years. We have a beautiful lot that overlooks the wildlife farming land recently purchased by developers and currently under the agricultural zone. We left the town of Clay and chose to bring up our children in a less developed area in Cicero. We consider ourselves very fortunate to have had these views, and she provides a photograph, for over 2 decades. It is not uncommon to see deer, turkeys, turtles, tree frogs, woodpeckers, and many other different species of birds. It is heartbreaking to think that they may say goodbye to the wildlife in such an uncommon view of today's suburbs. Like I said, there are photos include many residents are concerned with the level of housing development currently underway due to the outcomes that are impacting us right now and will inherently impact us in a worse way in the near future if we continue with the plans that have been presented to the town. I'm urging you all to save this wonderful wildlife farm land and avoid the many negative outcomes we are sure to face with a change in zoning in this area. Most importantly, if plans did work their way through to launching another huge residential development on this land with 120 homes, I would like to learn more about the impact this will have on many other factors in Cicero, to include, but not limited to, traffic. What is the negative impact traffic will occur once 120 homes are built and occupied? How will this traffic impact the already congested I-81 of Cicero? How will this traffic impact the already congested area of South Bay Road between 31 and Circle Drive? How many cars will be projected to travel down my street at Catspaw Terrace? How many more cars will be traveling within the existing neighborhoods? How will the outlet to Lakeshore Road impact traffic on Lakeshore Road? How will the traffic impact the areas around our already busy schools? Has there been an objective traffic study conducted by a third party which is not paid by the developer? Drainage, how will the town ensure that this land developed project doesn't cause more extensive major drainage issues near this land and in the neighboring developments? Wetlands and wildlife. How will the developers consider protecting the wetlands? Can the developer guarantee that the tree lines will be preserved even if drainage is an issue? Noise and disruption. During the many long days of building 120 homes, how will the developer ensure quality of life from loud noise to air quality and prevent large machinery from traveling in and out of the current development? One last final comment relative to achieving a middle ground. Is it possible to consider approving a variance versus a zoning change that will allow a small area to be developed for residential homes, preferably close to Lakeshore Road on a scale closer to 25 homes? I am not an expert on such proposals, but offer a notion of a middle ground that would not so greatly impact the residents of Cicero. Thank you very much for your time and consideration of a zoning change will not serve to advance the community and will have a significant impact on our quality of life in the great town of Cicero. Again, Sue Kumaletti, no address. Um, I have another one with another address, Sue Kumaletti. I'm not sure if it's the same person, no address given. There's a proposal built out of 100. There's a proposed build out of 120 homes behind my home in Cicero. I live on Catsville Terrace, and it appears this street and farm gate are the outlet roads. I'm very concerned over the plans set forth as I am reading them correctly. Is there a way to propose access roads to South Bay and Lakeshore Road? This one is from Craig Kumaletti, no address. I'm writing to let you know myself and every neighbor that I've spoken with in the Eldon Meadow, Catspaw Terrace area are 100% in agreement that this parcel of land should remain zoned agricultural. First, to have 120 houses built here would have a direct negative impact on the area, not only of the loss of natural habitat for wildlife, animals that call it home, and the wooded open farm fields that are part of Cicero, but also the burden of more traffic in the area that, quite frankly, is out of hand and getting worse every day. Not only has there been a major development of South Bay Whiting Road, but it continued off Cicero Center Road, Island Road, and other areas of Cicero. When does it end? Most people have come here to get away from other overpopulated areas such as Clay. Is that what we've become another Clay? It's disgusting that development has become the norm just for the added revenue for the town. I hope this town listens to other people's voices, which are totally against the zone change and future housing track that this area does not need or want. David Stage, no address given. My wife and I are vehemently opposed to the proposed zoning change from agricultural to residential for the Coley property off of Lakeshore Road. I've been a tax-paying resident of the town of Cicero for the past 38 years. The traffic congestion and loss of wildlife habitat are common complaints in regard to future development from the Cicero residents. Thank you all. Next item, Jessica Sabota, no address. I'm writing to respectfully urge you to vacate the petition to rezone the land behind Cobalt and Elzern from agricultural to residential. In building my home on Cobalt Drive, I paid a $10,000 premium for the lot due entirely to the fact that it backed up to the woods. I was directly assured that the land behind me was zoned agricultural and in no time would it be developed. My property is assessed and in turn, my taxes are determined on that $10,000 premium. With all due respect, where does that leave me as a homeowner and a taxpayer? I urge you to please consider the potential impact this change might have on our community. Forests, including the wooded zone behind my property, support biodiversity, providing critical habitat for wildlife, remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, intercept precipitation, slow down surface runoff, and reduce soil erosion and flooding. There is no denying that the town of Cicero is already bursting at the seams population-wise. To add to that at this time would be irresponsible. This is an overwhelmingly pressure-sensitive issue and a measurable force behind global warming, environmental pollution, and habitat loss. These are just a few of many concerns related to this potentially land use change that I respectfully urge you to consider. Thank you for your time. Stay safe and healthy. Lori Hart, no address. Good morning. I have lived on Farmgate Path for 28 years, buying the home due to the fact that it was on a dead-end street with small grandchildren here a lot of the time. I am very concerned about the large amount of traffic once this development is built. My suggestion would be an additional entrance exit on South Bay Road or another entrance exit on Lakeshore Road instead of just Eldon Lane, hoping this will reduce some traffic on Farmgate and Catspaw. Sharon Smith, no address. I'm writing in regard to the proposed zone change off Lakeshore Road by Leslie Ann Associates. I implore you to refuse this change. I have lived in Cicero for 35 years, and the development traffic issue has increased exponentially. When I leave my neighborhood, I need to plan what is the best time of day and the best route to avoid traffic problems. Traveling Thompson Road, Route 31, and 11 can be a nightmare. Again, please refuse the zoning change. Thank you, Sharon Smith. Shelley Strader, no address. I am in opposition to the new Lakeshore Road housing proposal. My husband and I have been residents of Cicero for over 30 years and purposely chose this area because it was not overdeveloped. Our kids grew up here and we intend to stay here for many years to come. The traffic in Cicero is becoming increasingly difficult, particularly on Route 31, South Bay Road, and Route 11. Another housing development would only add to the congestion. It would be so refreshing to actually see some green and wildlife areas left alone for once. Please take into consideration the negative impact this would have on all of us and keep Cicero from becoming another overdeveloped, congested area. Next is from Stacy and Michael Tracy, 8633 Cobalt Drive. We are writing to you after hearing the upsetting news that the farmland behind our residents of Cobalt Drive are to be turned into a residential development. As citizens and taxpayers of Cobalt Drive in Cicero, New York, we're asking you not to allow the change from agricultural to residential and to stop overcrowding Cicero. We bought our plot of land and home from Ryan Homes, being told repeatedly that the land behind our house will remain farmland and in Williams Farm hands as it had been for years. Now, after only 1.5 years of settling into our new neighborhood, we are being told that our privacy and natural views are going to be taken away. How can this be done without hearing from our community of Wellington Meadows? You are only offering a view on YouTube. This is by far a lack of listening to your taxpayers and what they want. We need to be heard too, and a majority of us, and a majority is against this zone change and another development shoved under power lines and squeezing into a small space between existing residences. Enough is enough. You need to view and hear the comments of your community and town. Please view the petition of over 300 citizens who are against this proposal and view their comments. We want to keep the land behind our homes a natural wetland and forest habitat. We want to fight to keep the land the way it was intended to be left. We do not need any more house developments with house on top of house. This new residential area will greatly disrupt the wetlands and nature. It will exhaust what solitude is left in the farmland atmosphere that brought us to this place to begin with. The environmental and wildlife do not need to suffer anymore. We need to stop overcrowding. The schools are too overcrowded. Classrooms are exceeding the number of maximum students. Roads and traffic are already a nightmare during busy times of the days and weekends. Stop to think about all of this and how it will affect your citizens who are choosing Bragman once again over your community for his money and greed. After speaking to many members of the Cobalt Drive family and surrounding neighborhoods, we are coming together to say no to this proposal. We do not want residents behind us. We don't want the land destroyed. We don't want to live with construction vehicles day upon day. We want our homes to remain valued. We don't want more traffic and crowded classrooms. If you allow this to happen, the town of Clay is taking away many reasons why people chose to bring their families here and to raise them in this community. You are and will take away the family-like atmosphere and community togetherness. Please hear us when we say do not allow Bragman and Leslie and Associates to build. Keep our land behind Cobalt Drive and the surrounding areas is a true woodland and agricultural landmark. Next item is, let's see. I'm not sure if I have a duplicate. I think I have a duplicate of the one from Mr. Tracy, so I'll skip that one. Okay, the last item here is from Joyce Villeneuve, 7892 Ontario Ave. To the best in the last decade or so, multiple housing developments have been built, and several of them were projects of Mr. Bradley. Had the occasion to get caught in the rain while walking through one of his projects. Granted, it was a torrential downpour, but I was standing at the top of an incline and the water was ankle deep. That leads me to believe that the infrastructure of these developments are now well designed. The roads seem inadequate as well. And once the development is built, it becomes the town's responsibility for upkeep. Town's infrastructure is strained and often overwhelmed. The town continues to spot zone these developments with no strategic plan for the future. There are already several housing developments in varying stages of implementation requiring zoning changes and or site plan changes. Each would add more than 100 vehicles to our overloaded roads traveling on Lakeshore, South Bay, Route 31, and Route 31 are time-consuming and frustrating during peak hours. Since the public cannot attend these meetings or public hearings, I urge the Cicero Planning Board to deny changes for multi-unit dwellings and housing developments until such time as the public can attend. Failing that, I would urge the planning board to deny a zone change, citing the inability to perform a comprehensive traffic study while the schools are online. North Syracuse has been online since before the holidays and just returning January 19, 2021. Many businesses are shut down and the unemployment rate is high, leaving many vehicles parked. Failing that, I would urge the planning board to deny a zone change until a comprehensive study of the effect of the runoff of rainwater waste will have on our sewer systems and our lake. Currently, the rain and snow runoff can be absorbed by the land, not so after paving for roads. This town is in a desperate need for a strategic plan for the development of our agricultural, commercial, and residential zoning. The spot zoning of the past cannot sustain us. So again, those are the ones that have been received. If there are additional residents who would like to make comments, please make them, get those presented to the board. As you can tell, if there were items that were addressing purely planning board issues, I still included them. So again, we're going to keep the public hearing open. That being said, do I have any questions from the board members?
Just a couple things, Mr. Supervisor. First of all, take a glass of water, please. That was a
Thank
lot
you.
of reading. Yeah. Second was I am really pleased with the participation from the citizens. I appreciate it. I've had the opportunity to talk to many of them, and please keep sending in your thoughts on on this topic. And I'm more than happy to talk with everybody on their concerns and thoughts about the project. So that's everything as of right now at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Further board comments? Okay, does the applicant have any further items you'd like to address? Or
Oh, no, I had something, sorry, I was muted. I had something I wanted to say. I can certainly sympathize with the property owners with the trespassing and, cutting down of trees and storing things on there. And that's illegal and there are remedies for that. But, I've received all the emails the supervisor just read, and I've read the comments online. I mean, the people around there in the surrounding neighborhoods do have some legitimate, well-founded concerns. And I just don't think it's appropriate to impugn them by suggesting that they don't want this development because they're afraid of losing the use of the land. I really just don't think that was an appropriate comment to make. I'm not commenting on the merits of the application. I'm just saying that, there are, as you can hear, there are concerns that are legitimate. Some of them, as someone else commented, the land's not going to stay as it is. So the habitat for the wildlife is going to change, one way or another. But, these people have legitimate concerns. They're concerned about the quality of life and they have other things they're concerned about. So I just don't think it was appropriate to suggest that they're upset about this because they don't want to use lose the free use of someone else's land.
I might as well speak. I was going to wait, but I believe that there will be obviously more emails regarding this, and it's unfortunate that we don't have the opportunity for people to speak physically, because I believe it makes it more difficult going through the process of the Zoom meetings. But obviously, the concerns are out there right now. Our main concern is the zone change. And since we have not received this from the planning board yet, because they have not vetted it, I will obviously wait until the public hearing is in full effect and then weigh my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, it would be nice if in the future we could, the applicants were able to get on this Zoom meeting. It would be awesome. And I know it's fairly easy to do, to reach out to, citizens and see who wants to speak before, for or against. In the same format that the applicant was able to speak, it's only right for the citizens to be able to speak in that same format within this Zoom meeting. So that's something I would like to see done in the future as well.
I would agree with that, Mike, along with they probably would be able to make an appointment or register just like they did going through the grievance process when they were grieving their properties. That would be because they did that on Zoom.
It was, it just seems like it was very, I would like to see them have the opportunity to join on the Zoom session, just like the applicant.
Nancy?
My comment is more about, we need to keep this to a policy question and answer type thing other than an emotional issue. That yes, people have questions and issues about the traffic, understandably so. That's a major issue with everyone in the town. But I'd like to keep the emotional side of it out. The people that want to go into the land and walk, unfortunately, the homeowners have had to put up with some people doing things that they shouldn't be able to do. But I'd like to keep those kind of issues out of the mix and stick to facts, stick to the traffic studies, stick to what can fit in there, and remind the public that we are only looking at the zoning change at this board. We are not looking at the site plan, how big the homes are, or any of that. This is strictly zoning, a zoning issue, and the site plans and that will go to the planning board if it goes that far. So.
All right, Robert Horner here, if I may. I don't know if I'm,
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Horner. You're there and gone.
He muted himself while he was talking.
I'm not a computer expert here, so I've got some issues, I'm sure. Our concern as a family is this, is we are really concerned that we consider the neighbors and that we consider the folks who are there. When we started, the three of us, there were very few homes between ours and the town of Cicero, which was a mile and a quarter down the road. And we want to do what is best for the area, what is best for the land, and what is best for the community. And I mean, obviously, we have other options. We can work with some solar power people and put solar panels on there, but that's not what we think is best for the area. We certainly would not want to drive down the road and see acres and acres of these black solar panels inside a chain link fence with crushed stone and galvanized steel frames and solar panels. We just don't think that's appropriate. And we are trying to maintain the legacy of the family and maintain the priorities. We've been there 100 years. We don't want to be bad neighbors. On the other hand, we don't want to be folks who are in a position whereby we cannot maintain the integrity and the legacy of the family. And so after serious consideration of the options that we were given at the time, we have decided, and we contacted the Bregman group. It was not him coming to us, although we have been solicited by alternative energy folks, and we have been solicited by other folks, and we have decided that that's not what's in the best interest of the community. So we decided to work with the Bregman group and see if we can come up with something that is presentable to the community. And yes, I understand people like to walk the area, but if there's housing development in there with lights and blacktop pavement, they will be able to walk the area and enjoy the use of the area. We have seen online what his developments in other areas have looked like. And we have decided that this would probably be the best fit with the neighborhood. And if the neighbors really want to have green space, then let them make us an offer to buy the property and come up with a HOA, a homeowners association, whereby they can control it and make it a community for them. We are not opposed to that, but the situation is we would have to compensate Mr. Bregman and the Bregman Group for all of the effort they have already done. And we would consider that as a realistic possibility. However, we are just not in a position to sit back and maintain ownership as a family. And so we are looking for what is honestly the best fit for the land usage in the area. We are not obviously out to make the most amount of money, because that would be an alternative to what the Bregman Group has offered. We are not out to ostracize the neighbors. We are not out to say that we want to alienate the folks who want to walk the property and walk their dogs and bicycle and so forth. we are trying to accommodate all uses, but at the same time, maintain the heritage of the Horner legacy, because we have been there for so long. We have been in town government, and we want to maintain that that legacy of Horners in the Cicero area. But at the same time, we don't want to just turn it over to make it something that is inappropriate usage. And I really don't understand, and this is one of my frustrations, as to why the folks who bought the farm to the east of us and the people who bought the farm to the west of us, who have developed it into acreage and home ownership, and these folks are all very happy. And one of the things we did as landowners adjacent to them was to sign up and say, yeah, go ahead, use those lands for homes, but at the same time, we need to have access. So the people to the Cicero side of the property have roads coming up and stubs coming up to the property, and it ends there, but it could continue on to ours so that we have access into them. And I really just don't understand why these people are saying, hey, this is a great place for us to live, but you know what? Don't let anybody else come in here, because we're here and we love it, but don't share it with anybody else. And I just don't understand that. That's very frustrating to me.
Okay, further comments from the board? Or the
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I do have another comment. Frankly, I've never been a part of a process like this before. We need to make sure the citizens have their voice heard in the same format that the applicant has been heard tonight. It's frankly been a disservice this evening. I've never seen the process done this way. This is going to be in front of the planning board first. And then we have to take into the consideration of what the planning board says. We vote, yes or no on the zone change. And the citizens must have their right heard the same way that the applicant is being heard this evening.
As you know, Mr. Bacallo, this item has been discussed before the planning board. We have no control over their process. So there was no way to know if they were going to do it in 1, 2, or 3 meetings. So we'll let the planning board folks, do their due diligence. Further comments from the board on this item?
I just have one question. We actually are extending this public hearing, but you didn't open it as a public hearing. You just opened it for public comment. So I'm kind of confused as how this is going to be handled.
Okay, I think I read it saying public hearing.
But you didn't open it? Tracy, was it opened?
Yes, it's 6:40. Yes, he did open it.
Okay, then I
6:35 PM, Judy.
Thank you.
Councilor Boyke.
Okay, so we went through the process, reading the announcement, doing the posting, showed proof of posting, and so on and so forth. So we're good to go. With no further comment, we'll be keeping the public hearing open. And again, as the members have pointed out, this is before the planning board. So we'll see what their calendar looks like for consideration. So moving on to the next item. Next item is another public hearing, and the clerk will make note of this, as she often does and properly does. And again, I'm just going to make sure that it's in the record that this one will also be kept open, because under these unusual circumstances, we are making sure that not only at this venue, but at the planning board, and once they have an opportunity to get this information, they have an opportunity to have more input. So number 4, public hearing Highbridge Street Properties LLC, consider zone change from agricultural to RM multifamily zoning. Whereas the owner applicant requests a zone change from agricultural to RM multifamily for the property located on Miller Circle, Brewerton, New York. Now therefore be resolved that the Cicero Town Board sets Wednesday, February 10th, 2021 at 6:30 at 8236 Brewerton Road for a public hearing to consider a zone change from agricultural to RM multifamily for tax map 109.0105.3. And that being said, I need to call on Mr. Procopio and he can give us an update on the actual action from the planning board. Steve, you there?
Yes, I'm here. So at last week's planning board meeting, the planning board made a positive recommendation for this zone change. That was the second date they heard the application and made that recommendation last week.
Okay, I believe Mr. Abbott is here as the applicant. Mr. Abbott, I'm sorry, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Abbott, would you like to make any comments?
No, the planning board asked me before to show more than just the survey, to show a preliminary site plan, just to see how the building would lay out and what the landscaping would look like. And I did that for them, and I think they were pleased with it. It lays out very well. Again, it's a preliminary site plan. It's not the final, but it's close. And it worked out well for us.
Any questions from the board on number 4?
Mr. Supervisor?
Yep. Ms. White?
I just took a drive up there today and that property will back up to existing apartments. So it should fit well right in there. There shouldn't be any problem with traffic.
Okay, further comments on number 4?
Yes. As Ms. White also stated, it is near the Bayshore Apartments, and that land obviously would fall right in line with the apartments that are there. There would be no change. There's another garage that is just a garage that is near this property. And this property also backs up to 81, as does most of the Bayshore property. So the applicant and the zone change, it would be appropriate for this these apartments.
Okay, thank you. So we will not consider any further input on this number 4 at this moment. We will keep it open and bring it up for the next board meeting. The public is invited to make further comment as well. So moving on to the next item. Unfortunately, this did not make the agenda. I've been assured by council that since we've done proper posting and it was on the website, that the public hearing for town code amendments for changing the wordage on a majority of the town board and the chair. So Ms. White, would you like to introduce the item? So we'll have a public hearing on the code change.
Yes, public hearing, amendment of Town Code Section 210-28E. Whereas the town board wishes to clarify and update the provision to the current town code. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board wishes to call a public hearing on February 10th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. at 8236 Brewerton Road to consider amendment of Town Code Section 210-28E, expiration of site plan by changing the decision maker from the chairman alone to a majority of the town planning board. The purpose of this proposed amendment is to clarify and legally conform the provision to current New York state law. The effective date of this amendment shall be upon filing with the New York Secretary of State.
Okay, and as I mentioned previously, this item was noted and posted, and actually Nancy, would you like to get into a background? Actually, this was an item that came from the planning board for a suggestion in their, in the code. Would you like to elaborate on that, please?
Correct. They asked at one of the planning board meetings that they were all in agreement that this wording should be changed to take the onus off of the chairman alone and to make it part of the entire planning board as a decision-making body, which would make sense. And then that way they all bear the burden or the good part of it as allowing these to be extended.
Okay, comments from the board? Hearing none, again, we'll keep the public hearing open so that any comments from the residents or the board members can be introduced at the next meeting. So we now go to the next item on the agenda, number 5. Judy?
Appointment of member to zoning board of appeals. Whereas 49-2 of the town code provides for the appointment of 2 ad hoc members to the zoning board of appeals. And whereas there is currently only 1 ad hoc member serving on the board. And whereas the chair of the board has requested that Christopher Daniel be appointed to fill the vacant ad hoc seat. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Christopher Daniel is hereby appointed to fill the vacant ad hoc seat on the zoning board of appeals for a 2-year term, which shall expire on December 31st, 2023.
Jonathan, would you like to second this item?
Second.
Second, Mr. Carp. Mr. Carp did extensive amount of research on this and brought this to our attention. Jonathan, would you like to address this?
Well, yeah, I just happened to notice, getting ready for the organizational meeting, that the code provided for 2, and we only had 1. And I met Mr. Daniel, and he had been interested in it, and I got his resume and submitted it to Mr. Stanton, who's the chair of that board. Very impressed with it. You know, Mr. Daniel is a CPA. Mr. Stanton feels that his financial background and education and his work background will be invaluable to that board. And then there are two ad hoc positions. One of them will be expiring at the end of 2022. This one will be expiring at the end of 2023. So they'll be staggered. So you won't be replacing or reappointing or whatever, both ad hocs every year. It's also good because the ad hocs learn skills and experience that eventually would serve them if they become full members. And so if you have 2 ad hocs on there, then you've got 2 more people potentially being trained to be full members of those boards. And also, if you just happen to have 2 absences, you have a full board anyway. So Mr. Stanton is very much in favor of him being appointed to this board. I think he's well suited to it. I think we're fortunate to have him.
Further comments on number 5?
Yes, I also spoke with Mr. Stanton last night. I just wanted to make sure that everything was good, and he said the same things that Mr. Carp was saying, that it'd be great to have the CPA on the board. I think Mr. Daniels would be a great addition to any of our boards, but I'm glad to see that Mr. Stanton is going to be able to use his CPA knowledge.
Okay, thank you. Further comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Roike,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Next item, number 6, town planning grant for Riverfront Park parking and wellness streetscape improvement project. Whereas a town planning grant in the amount of $75,000 has been approved with Onondaga County for the recently completed improvements that are made to Riverfront Park and Wellness Street. Now therefore be resolved, town board approves the agreement between the town of Cicero and Onondaga County and authorizes supervisor to execute the agreement. Revenue code A 2372. Yes, this is a revenue. So I need a second.
I'll second it.
Second. Ms. Blakey, Ms. Roth, would you like to? Teresa, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. This has been a long time coming, and we'd like to get revenue. So could you elaborate on this a little bit?
Sure. This project was completed back in September. It was basically a $274,000 project. We were able to get a state grant that's going to reimburse us $136,000 approximately. The county has agreed to this $75,000 portion, and then that will leave the town for $61,509. It's already basically a done deal. We've finished the project and we are submitting the last of the paperwork. Most of it went out today. The rest of it will go out by the end of the week, but this is just basically housekeeping to get reimbursed for the funds.
Further discussion on number 6?
Teresa, I appreciate your email earlier. It was very, very clear. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Okay, clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Aye.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes. Item is adopted. Thank you. Next item, board approves rehiring of Stephen Jones as a recreational leader, whereas the Parks and Recreation Department has a need to fulfill a part-time seasonal position. Now therefore resolved, the town board approves the rehiring of Stephen Jones as a recreation leader for the Lady Stars program effective February 26, 2021 at a pay rate of $50 per hour. That's with a budget code B702013. This is a program that also has revenue with it. And I'll have Ms. Roth address that in a minute. I need a second.
Second, Counselor Bicallo.
Okay. Teresa, would you like to talk about this a little bit?
Sure. Stephen Jones, I think, has worked for the town for the last 7 or 8 years. He's basically kind of like an instructor coach. This particular position is going to be for the Lady Stars basketball program that we just found out we're going to be able to hold at the sports center behind the Cicero Library. Again, that's if we have enough registrants sign up to cover the cost of renting the facility space and for his hourly rate. But this is what we've paid him the last 2 years. And we just opened registration this week. And I'm very confident that we're going to get the minimum registration to cover our costs. So, and this is the pay rate that he's made the last 2 years and our other instructors make as well.
Okay, so we're going to get program revenue to cover the cost.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Discussion on number 7. Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Again, the next meeting, scheduled meeting is February 24th here at Cicero Town Hall, 6:30 p.m. Mr. Carp.
Yeah, I have 2 items. 2 late breaking items. We've got something from the police department. Whereas the Cicero Police Department is in need of ballistic protective shields, and Abundant Life Christian Center has provided a donation to purchase the ballistic shields in order to enhance officer safety. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board approves the purchase of 6 ballistic protective shields from BOTAC at a cost of $5,972.90. Budget code B3120.56.
Okay,
Second,
Mr. Carp,
Councilor
you're going to be sending that to Ms. Councilman, right?
I will.
She's writing very quickly, but she's having a moment here, so. Okay, we need a second.
Second, Counselor Bicallo.
Okay, any background on this, Jonathan, you'd like to provide, or?
Just, I know that the chief has been wanting to purchase these for a while. Oh, never mind, the chief's here. Maybe he can get the background instead. Got to unmute, chief.
There's community support.
Yes, we've identified on some calls for service that we had a shortfall for some protective equipment where we've had to wait for other agencies to actually show up and borrow their equipment to keep our officers safe. Luckily, we have the community support to help us for this unbudgeted item, and Abundant Life Christian Center was more than willing to step up to the plate and make the donation.
Could you, do we have the number again, Jonathan? What's the dollar amount?
It is $5,972.90.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion on this item? Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you, Jonathan.
Whereas the town board passed a resolution abolishing the office of deputy supervisor on September 9th, 2020, and whereas the town recognizes the need for deputy supervisor to serve in the absence or inability of the supervisor to act, and whereas the town now wishes to formally reestablish the office of deputy supervisor by resolution pursuant to town law section 42, conferring the same and only the authority of office as detailed and authorized by section 42 of the town law. Now therefore be it resolved, the town of Cicero formally establishes the officer of deputy supervisor pursuant to the provisions of town law section 42.
I'll second it.
Okay, and this is Jonathan, a non-paid position.
Yeah, that is correct.
Right, okay. Discussion on the resolution.
Yes. I really feel that there should have been more discussion on this. I feel that I'm being pressured, and without having a discussion with the town attorney or going into executive session, that I'm very uncomfortable with this. Since we had previously removed this position. I tried to get some support and qualifications as to the reasons for this position, and I just say that I'm very uncomfortable with it.
Further discussion on this item?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I would also like to add, we have had discussions and we discussed, putting this on as a referendum, in our next election and giving the citizens the ability to vote on this position, being a member of the town board. So this should go out to the citizens. I frankly don't know why we're putting it on this evening. I don't know what the rush is, because that's what we've discussed in the past. So I am against this, and I stand by what our current town code has written in our town code section for, it's the section, give me a second, listed for inability of or absence of supervisor. This is section 5-1. We as a board have the ability to appoint an acting supervisor anytime the supervisor cannot act.
Okay, further discussion on the resolution?
I'd just like to add that, notwithstanding this, given the pandemic, I think it makes sense. I would support eventually, or this November, putting it on the ballot to limit it to a town board member. But because that would require a referendum, that's not something we can do now. So that's why I offered this resolution tonight. But I don't think that the two concepts, Mr. Picallo, are mutually exclusive. I think we can do one for now and then the other one later, and I would support that.
What's the real reason why we're doing this tonight? I asked the supervisor, I asked the other board members. It's not because of the deputy supervisor position needs to be put back in place now. What's the real reason?
My understanding is the deputy supervisor has the ability to sign checks should there be a need for something signed if the supervisor is unavailable. And we are still in the middle of a pandemic, and there's no guarantee that someone's not going to come down with this. I think this is a smart move, and we should go forward.
Section 5-1, we could appoint someone as the acting supervisor. They can also sign checks. What's the real reason why we're doing it?
We need someone who's there.
Obviously, Ms. White, you've been informed to this as to one of the reasons for doing this.
I ask again, what's the real reason why we're doing this evening? It has nothing to do with the deputy supervisor position. Mr. Supervisor?
I've expressed my opinion repeatedly. I think it's good government. It's all through the state of New York. Other municipalities do it. In this particular building, the good government directs us to, if we have a judge that's out, we have two judges. The town clerk is out. We have a deputy clerk. The receiver of taxes is out. We have a deputy available for that position. In the comptroller's office, like I mentioned, we have an alternate. Even when Mrs. Boyke was supervisor, she had a provision that if her secretary was out, to make sure there was coverage in the office, the town board authorized a temporary seasonal secretary.
That's
So
not
we have-
true.
Was that considered?
That was not true.
Was it
When my secretary was out, I handled all of it. And I believe my secretary was never out.
Was it brought up to have a secretary position for seasonal when your secretary was out?
That was in place when I took office.
Like I said, to make sure we have coverage in that office, which you felt was important.
I did not feel it was
And
important.
I felt it was important also. It's simple, good government and is a non-cost item.
Mr.
There's
Supervisor,
been a
please
lot
call
of
the question.
silence this evening, a lot of silence from people. There's been conversations. This is not the real reason why we're talking about this evening. There's other reasons why we're talking about it. And I'm ashamed why people aren't really mentioning the real reason why this is being brought up tonight.
Enlighten us.
Mr. Carp?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons for it. And I also think that when you talk about appointing an acting supervisor, that would require a meeting. And, you know, in the meantime, the office of supervisor might be absent. However, there have been discussions about a great many things. And, you know,
Excuse me, John, but shouldn't this conversation go into executive session?
No, there's no reason this conversation to be put into executive session.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Carp, I believe you have the floor.
Sure. Well, you know, we earlier or back last January, I think it was around a year ago now, the board took an action to appoint a committee to negotiate the police contract. You know, based upon advice we received at the time that the board had such authority. And we did that, and acting pursuant to that authority, the town board or that negotiating committee negotiated in good faith with the Police Benevolent Association, came up with a contract, an agreement, the first one that would be signed since December of 2013. And then we're informed around Christmas time that in fact, due to the quirk in the way the Taylor law is written, that the contract has to be signed by the supervisor of the town. The Taylor law gives that prerogative to the chief executive officer of the municipality. It's a contract, it's a bargain is an agreement between the the chief executive officer and the union. It's not an agreement between the municipality and the union. And so then, you know, given the fact that Supervisor Meyer was opposed to the appointment of that committee and the fact that it was done over his objection, that led to discussions as to how to resolve that, because the contract, which is very beneficial to the town, would ultimately require his signature. And being in a position, you know, to negotiate, the supervisor set forth a couple concerns that he had and some wishes that he had. And one of them, you know, considering that he also takes the position that we did not have the authority to abolish the position of deputy supervisor, which I disagree with him on, but that's moot at this point, that he would like, in light of there being an ongoing pandemic, to have the deputy supervisor position reestablished as he feels it's good government. Considering that to be a reasonable request, and considering that to be something that, you know, ultimately, you know, would be in the best interest of the town, particularly in light of the necessity of having this contract signed, because some of the savings that the town will receive will expire, for lack of a better term, if the contract is not signed by the end of the year. I feel after discussion with council and with thinking, you know, about the potential necessity of having a deputy supervisor under these circumstances, that it was a reasonable solution and a reasonable compromise. And, you know, I mean, good government and good politics requires compromise. So that being the case, I brought this resolution tonight. So thank you.
I appreciate that, John, very much. So basically, the situation that's going on is the supervisor, because the supervisor was mad, is refusing to sign any contract because, you know, signing a contract unless he gets his wishes met. So just take that for what it's worth, everyone.
That's your characterization.
It's yours too.
It's not what I said.
Tonight. Judy, even
For this-
saying that?
Further discussion on the item? I think I want to get whoever Mike Marizio is working with there and get that nice photo posted on these meetings. Mike, good photo, Mike. There you are. Okay, hearing no further discussion, the clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Blakey,
No.
Counselor Carr,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
No.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Further items from the board? Hearing none, I'll move to adjourn. I'll take a second and we can have a voice vote. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Ms. White, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. We're adjourned. Next meeting, as I said, is the